Hi, Amascut here with a somewhat delayed thoughts on, this time about the next Angel of Death boss fight release that came out on Monday. I'm recording this on Thursday, so really I intentionally took a couple days to make sure I had a grasp on the mechanics and everybody else had a good grasp on the mechanics. First things first, I think this is the best boss fight that Jagex has released in a long time. Every single mechanic is really brilliantly put together. They all combine really well. They inform each other, they build off of each other. And especially in the size that this fight is meant for, all these mechanics come together in a really satisfying way that makes it really fun to interact with this boss. Mod Ramen should be brimming with pride because this thing is really, really impressive. So I'm going to talk about kind of the lore about behind this boss and what we know from that, and then we'll go into what the fight is itself and some of the drops too. Hoping to not make this too long, but knowing me, I'll probably ramble on for a while. So first things first, if you are in the top 8 DPS or 2 tanks, I believe, you will get a drop. If you are in those roles as well, on your first kill, you will get 2 books, The Praisal and The Promised Gift. The Promised Gift is a book that elaborates on a piece of lore set up in the Children of Maquest, which was that Zeros was intending to give Nex something, and she was preparing at her fortress for it. However, Zamorak betrayed Zeros before this could happen, and Nex never received this gift. Now that Zeros is back, he has finally given Nex what he promised, and what those are is the 4 elemental stones, the power stones that he used to create the Nihil. There is obviously the smoke, the shadow, the ice, and the blood stones. Each of the stones was made from the essence of a powerful creature or creatures. The smoke stone was made from a very large smoke demon on the world of Infernus that Zeros defeated and turned into the stone. The shadow stone was from a new creature we'd never heard of called Shadow Cacklers. He found 1,001 of them and concentrated them into this stone. What's really cool about this is that he also mentions other creatures, or a creature in the Shadow Realm. Let's see, what's this exact quote? He says, "I created the Stone of Shadow from the essence of 1,001 Shadow Cacklers from the Shadow Realm. Though individually weak, they are powerful in large concentration, but far less risky than hunting down one of the true leviathans that lurk in the deep places of that realm." I really like this idea of setting up the Shadow Realm to be kind of this, shadow mirror plane that has dangerous creatures on it. We've seen the Shadow Realm before, and nothing about it, we've not seen any unique creatures beyond, ghosts and things that are trapped there. So this confirmation of actual dangerous beasts there is very interesting. The fact that a true god like Zeros is scared of the leviathans of the Shadow Realm too is very interesting, and I think it's very, I wouldn't say odd, but a very unique way of setting up some danger. Anyway, the Bloodstone was created from an incredibly powerful vampire. This vampire was the mother of Lord Draken, and she had fallen from his service and was acting like the Duke Hostilius, who kind of betrayed Zeros a bit. And so he took her, and he essentially smashed her into her, pure essence and created a Stone of Blood. Finally, he created the Stone of Ice from an Archglaicor on a new world we'd never heard of called Lang. What's interesting about Lang is it's actually a reference to H.P. Lovecraft's story. The icy plateau of Lang shows up in several Lovecraft tales, of the eldritch horrors of Cthulhu and so on. And I think it's very cool that they went ahead and referenced us there. Another thing I forgot to mention is that the 1,001 Shadow Cacklers seems to be a reference to Nex's original combat level in the first encounter. But so he takes these 4 stones and gifts them to Nex before the events of Endgame. And as she took them, she was able to absorb these powers and has become Nex, the Angel of Death. The Praisal book talks about Nex's, throne room palace that the fight itself takes place in. She talks about her place in the world, how strange it is to her that so many thousands of years have passed while it hasn't felt anything like that to her. What her goals are with the palace itself, and her relationship with Torva, Pernix, and Virtus. She also mentions that she would love to have Char come and, stay with her. She's staying with Azanadra right now, and apparently they don't get along well. And I'm certainly really hoping that this means they're considering a Char boss fight here, because there's another door hidden past the next Angel of Death's arena. And I wouldn't say no to a cool high-level Char fight. I'm not going to expect it, but boy, I would sure enjoy it. So that's really the setup for this boss fight here. Nex has been given a particularly large amount of power thanks to Zeros, and this new fight, reflects that. Other things she drops are 4 cosmetic battle robes through the intricate smoke-shrouded, intricate shadow, intricate bloodstained, and intricate ice chests. These are fairly rare drops, appear to be relatively pricey. Their base price on the GE is 15 mil, but the fact that the price hasn't moved up or down indicates that they are probably selling well above, probably not through the GE, but these cosmetic sets are very, very cool looking and can be viewed in the wardrobe. She also drops a new pet, which is a Blood Reaver named Reeves. He has some pretty, cheeky little dialogue references. There's, a reference to the Matrix. There's some puns about Nex. They're really nexcellent. And there's also a reference to an old video where somebody got Pernix Chaps as a drop and freaked out and Pernix Chaps and all that goodness. It was a pretty funny video. I was watching it again recently, and it was really funny to see it brought up in Reeves' dialogue. The new prayers that they added, Malevolence, Desolation, and Affliction. They require 99 prayer to use and are the highest level, boost prayers in the game. These are upgrades to Turmoil, Anguish, and Torment. However, they kind of suck. So, Turmoil, Anguish, and Torment are plus 10 levels, plus 10% damage, plus 10, defense level. And, you can use things like Overhead, Deflects, or Soul Split with them. However, Malevolence, Desolation, and Affliction are overhead prayers, which means they cannot be used with things like Soul Split and Deflect Curses or Deflect Curses. This would be fine if their boosts were higher than plus 12 to your levels and plus 12% damage, with no ramp up and with a bit of drain. The biggest issue with these is the fact that because they're overheads, it means you are losing out significantly on your defensive capabilities or your healing capabilities in exchange for just a 2% increase in damage and plus 2 in levels. It's kind of bad. I'm hoping these get a buff in some way, shape, or form, because right now their fairly low buffs are really just, they don't seem to be worth the trade-off at the moment, which is a little disappointing, especially for these being our first level 99 prayers. Anyway, moving on. Nah, I'm just kidding. There's also a brand new wand and orb that was kept completely secret, and, Ramen was playing hard to throw everybody off the trail of these. New level 92 magic, the Wand of the Praesol and the Imperium Core. These things are really, really cool looking, have, tier 92 stats, fairly rare drops, and are the best dual-wielding magic set in the game. They are equivalent to the Staff of Slisky, dropped from Telos, but they are dropped in already, ready-to-go form. You don't need to collect any extra orbs to upgrade them. You don't need a Seismic Wand to upgrade them. They just come as, the Wand of the Praesol and the Imperium Core. Really, nothing wild there. Pretty cool weapons. They don't have any special effects or attacks, but they're just, they're the new strongest. So obviously, they're quite valuable. So, those are all of the big important drops, the unique drops. So let's go ahead and move into the fight itself. This is not actually a timed fight, but it really helps to be quick. It's aimed at groups of, I believe, 5 to 7. However, this is the first boss in a while that can be massed. You can have as many people as you want. I guess as few, but good luck with that. So she has a couple distinct phases. I'm going to call them 4 phases, but really she has an initial phase, she has a minions phase, she has a big, like, combination phase, and then the crystals phase. So as she starts off, she just uses melee and magic attacks and will chase her target, who is the tank. And the melee attack has a area of effect ability, and that means all the DPS will want to stay away from the tank, which means don't melee with them. She also has, as she goes into the first phase, she will use an effect called Power from the Elements. What this does is she will teleport to the center and look into one of the 4 corners. After a few seconds, ice barriers will split the battlefield into 4. The direction she is looking will witness her raw power and hit everybody 3 times for 3,500 damage, and will spawn Blood Reavers in the other 3 corners. You'll want to take those out before they get to Nex, because those will heal her and add Enrage, which increases her damage. Additionally, if nobody's in the corner that she is hitting, she'll also gain 20 Enrage. So you'll need somebody to be in there trying to tank it, or just be ready to take that extra Enrage. It's pretty dangerous, but it's doable. The tank is going to have some fairly difficult challenges as well at times. Nex has the ability to reset defensive abilities, and that means anybody trying to tank this fight will need to absolutely be ready for this. Another thing that Nex does during Phase 1 is something called Shadow Orbs. After screaming this out, she will send red Shadow Orbs at everybody's locations. If you stand still, these will hit you. If you move, they likely won't. So it essentially means your DPS crew needs to spread out and start moving. The tank at this point will want to start moving Nex away from any surviving Blood Reavers. It is very dangerous to keep them alive, and they will heal her for a lot. So the tank will want to lure her away from any that are still around, and the DPS will want to make sure that the Reavers are gone, and then will have to go from there. As I mentioned earlier, you'll want somebody to stay in the corner that Nex is raw powering, and they'll want to use things like Debilitate, Reflect, any sort of damage reduction that they have access to. At this point, once she hits, I believe, 70%, she will spawn 4, what are they, like portals. Smoke, Shadow, Blood, and Ice. They explode into place. It's always a set place, so you'll want to stay away from that place. And then your team will need to kill all 4 of them. Each has 40,000 hit points, and while they're there, Nex will take heavily reduced damage. The order in which you kill the portals, when you kill a portal, after a little bit more time, the Praesol themselves, those being Fumus, Umbra, Kror, and Glacies from the original fight, but much stronger, will appear. They have 300,000 hit points and can use abilities against the person tanking them. You will want to, siphon, you'll want to use Natural Instinct, you'll want to keep their adrenaline as low as humanly possible. You will also, basically you want to DPS these guys down like crazy. Get rid of your minions. What's important here is that everybody needs to pay attention to the order of the Praesols that you kill. The order in which you kill them determines how the crystals in a later phase will unlock and the order you'll be able to kill them. And Nex gains new abilities in which the Praesols are killed. You will want to start with Umbra. Then, I believe it is, so kill Umbra, and then I believe the Ice Crystal, and then the, let's see, appears to be Shadow, and let's see, trying to figure this one out. I believe the order is start with Umbra and then go clockwise from there, because these shadow traps are extremely deadly, especially in combination with the ice, and you'll want to be, paying attention to that. Before you go to the Praesol, make sure your Reavers are dead. At this point, next we'll be tossing Shadow Orbs. Some of the Praesols might try to stun you, so make sure you're taking them out as quickly as possible. Once all the minions are gone and Nex is lowered a bit further, she will stop using the old abilities that she was using and will instead have 3 new abilities: Smoke Wall, Shadow Ring, and Just Stay Down. Smoke Wall is very, very similar to Vindicta's Dragonfire attack, except in this case, Nex will target 2 players with a pop-up warning letting them know that they are being targeted and from which direction. The player will want to move as far away from the rest of their group and kind of get these lines into a really good place so that your team isn't affected. Additionally, Nex will send Shadow Rings out, as I mentioned. They look harmless, but if somebody moves into it, a crystal will appear. And if nobody takes the crystal, everybody will be hit for 37,500 damage split over the number of players on the team, to a minimum of 3,750 each. If you grab the crystal, however, it'll deal only 14k split to the team that was in the Shadow Ring. Basically, what this means is everybody's got to run into this thing, grab the crystal, and run the hell out. So basically, be ready to take some damage. Otherwise, she will say, not otherwise, but she will also use the Just Stay Down attack, where she will shout that, and then stun people, and an icicle will collapse on them. Anybody near them will also take 5k damage, and the icicle will have 100k life points, or 50,000 if the person that is targeted casts Freedom, and the team needs to free them from the icicle by destroying it. If it is not destroyed in time, the victim will become free, but they'll take 2,000 hits 5 times, or 3,000 if they're near somebody. So everybody really just needs to be prepared to focus on Nex, deal out massive damage, and be ready to counter those specials. So pay attention to your positioning, pay attention to your team. That's really all you'll need to do. Finally, once Nex is at 600,000 life points, she will become invulnerable, and the 4 crystals in the corner will be you'll have the ability to destroy them. At this point, there will be a number of special attacks going on. The first, and most importantly, is the instant kill. In the center of the arena, there will be a kind of blue, circle on the floor. 1 player at a time will be told, Nex has marked you to take on the full force of the elements. And a bar will appear under their life points and adrenaline. If they do not get into the safe zone in time, they will be killed. Plain and simple. However, if you do successfully get into the safe zone, when you block the damage, another little bar will appear. And the elements are now boiling inside of you. And you will need to move away from your team to somewhere safe. And when the bar fills up, you will drop a permanent pulsing bomb on the floor. So make sure you're dropping it in a location that is beneficial to your team and will not throw off the fight in any way. Teams will generally drop it along the wall that the players will not run past when it comes to killing the 4 crystals, since you'll make an open box shape or like a U shape. You'll want to go to the wall that the players won't run through when destroying the 4 crystals. Every other player should be focusing on the crystals. Each of them have a special ability that can only be used when they are active. There's the virus from the smoke crystal, which will send out a virus to players. It drains their stats, it drains their prayer points, and basically it hurts. And you will want to destroy that crystal. Next is the shadow traps. Next we'll place little shadow traps underneath players. And if you are standing in one when they pop, you will take a ton of damage. So basically, you want to be running around avoiding these shadow traps on the ground. This mechanic is very similar to the Lord Draken boss fight from the Lord of Imperium with like the blood pustules under people. They'll appear under your body and spawn, and then you'll want to step away from them. Probably one of the most dangerous ones is the Ice Crystal. This gives Nex the ability to freeze players. They'll be told that an Ice Crystal is starting to free them, and an icy overlay will begin to appear on their screen. Using Freedom will remove the overlay in the freeze attempt, but if it's not prevented, your defensives get reset, and you're bled for 2,000 damage 5 whole times. Additionally, if you're hit, the Icicle will appear and freeze you just like last time. And as mentioned earlier, the order of the crystals is based on the deaths of the Praesal order, so you will want to kill the Praesals in the order that you want to deal with the crystal effects. I believe the blood crystal, let's see, that one lets, I don't actually know what the blood crystal does. It doesn't seem to have information listed on the wiki page, so if I find it before I finish recording this, I will let you know. Anyway, at this point, once you take out all of the crystals, Nex can no longer use any of those abilities, and the only thing she'll be doing is that instant kill attack that makes you spawn the bombs under you. So at this point, you just need to, go wild on her. DPS as crazily as you can. Anybody that gets tagged with the instant, run into the center, get away from your team and drop the pulse and get back on Nex. At this point, it really is just kind of a time race to make sure that her damage isn't too high, because she'll be slowly gaining these enrage stacks, and there aren't so many bombs that you just aren't able to deal with it. So yeah, that essentially sums up what Nex does here. Her starting point is in Nex's original starting room with Ashalot Rays, and you basically go through a little hidden thing in the wall behind one of the wall murals. That's the word I'm looking for. The instance is free to access, and that's really it as far as I'm aware. So I went over the drops. That's the how the boss fight kind of operates. Hopefully that was, relatively clear and decent. We went over the lore too. Like I mentioned, this is just such a cool fight. I'm really, really impressed by this. I think it's a lot of fun to play against. And really, it's really impressively designed. It's beautiful, it's interesting, and it's just a hell of a lot of fun. Big props to Mod Ramen. Seriously, please make more fights like this. Maybe not necessarily super hard. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of how the books are dropped. It makes being able to mass for it a little annoying, but especially since it's a Master Quest Cape requirement, and I know a lot of people that are hunting that aren't necessarily the best PVMers. I'm not super concerned about it, but I know others that are, and I really think it would be better if somebody has managed to defeat it, high level, massing or not. They definitely deserve to get those books, because the books are not, valuable for anybody except for lore hounds or, people that just care about the story. So I would prefer to see story not limited in that way. I think it's fine that they're from the boss fight. I just don't think they need to be limited to DPS and tank rolls. But that's my own personal opinion on that, and I am more than happy to have people disagree, especially, if you've got a good point behind it, and I'm not super bothered either way. I remember Mod Ramen very recently mentioning on Twitter that he would consider looking into perhaps spawning a pillar at the end of the fight, similar to the teleport pillar at the start, that contains both the books in it, so that anybody that participates in the fight will be able to get those books. I think that would be a really great solution, and would just be a nice addition. But beyond that, I don't think I have a single negative thing to say about this boss. Any problems I've encountered with it are entirely because of the fact that I was running some masses on the first day. It was very chaotic, hard to keep track of what was going on, and that's because, there's 50 players, 40 players milling around in this boss room. Doing this at the targeted level of, what did I say? It was 5 to 7, up to 10, I think makes this boss absolutely shine. Yeah, recommended size in-game is 7 players, and I think the boss absolutely just is so impressive at that level. It requires, some serious skill and some knowledge of this fight from everybody, but was entirely doable for anybody, going in for the first time, just because everything was very well telegraphed and told. Not a lot of bosses have been incredible at that recently, and I really appreciate Ramen taking the time to ensure this boss was very readable while still providing a decent challenge. So those are my thoughts on Nex Angel of Death. I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and I will hopefully be recording my thoughts on the February month ahead behind the scenes video that should be coming out, well, I was going to say tomorrow, but this video probably won't be up until Friday, so today, and hopefully I'll be able to get that video out the day after that, or even the day of, really not sure. Depends on what my free time looks like. So again, thanks for watching, and I've been Amascut, and I hope you enjoyed. If you like this content, please drop a like. If you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you, hanging out and checking out my content on the regular. So, thanks again, and have a great one.